This is the Fantasy Roadshow.
Welcome in, everybody, to another episode of the Fantasy Roadshow with your boys here. You can call me Truck, and I'm joined, as always, by Shane O'Mac. Today, we are talking Week 12, red light, green light, players we don't like, players we do like, all that fun stuff. We're going to get into it. It is Bye-pocalypse week. We have so many teams on bye this week. What is it, 6 teams?
Yeah, a bunch.
It feels like 10. Feels like 10 teams. All my good players are gone in a very important part of the season. But anyway, I am back in the truck. I am at work today. If you guys have been following us for the off season, I am usually at work during that time, and I am back in the truck representing the truck. Shane, how are you doing today?
Good. I just have to say, it's good seeing you back in the origin elements. It does my heart good seeing the original truck element environment for you.
Back in the saddle. I don't have a truck horn to pull right now. I am currently on set, so they wouldn't appreciate the loud horn noise anyway. But we are here. We're getting it done. It's week 12. This is craziness. I feel like this Bye-pocalypse should come at a different week. It should be week 4 or week 6 where we have 6 teams on a bye, not week 12 when everyone is fighting for spots in the playoffs. This is just coming at the worst time. So we are here today, and this is a special episode because you guys out there need help, right? I mean, everybody needs answers on who to start this week, who to pick up. I know, Shane, you're a master at the waiver wire article, and I'm sure it was great and everything. You know, we got guys we needed to get, but now we got to plug in the right players to our lineups, and that's what we're here to do. So let's kick it off, Shane. Let's start it off. Red light quarterbacks. Who do you not like on this crazy week 12?
All right, I've got 2 guys, and I feel like the first guy, between you and myself, this guy, flip-flops on red light. He flip-flops on green light. He's back of the full stop for me this week, and that's Sam Darnold. And it's because of your Chicago Bears, honestly. They have, been tough. And I was looking, the last 6 weeks, quarterbacks are finishing the week as the QB 18 on average the last 6 weeks. So they have been tough against quarterbacks. Top 10 in fewest passing yards allowed per game. Over the last 3, allowing less than 200 yards passing per game. So they have just been a nightmare pass defense to go against.
Yeah, 100%. I love the Bears, but last week was really tough. We didn't even really talk about the Bears losing to the Packers with that block kick, and I don't really want to get into it, frankly. But I'm really hoping the Bears, kind of show what they showed last week with the Packers and play a good game against the Vikings. And if that happens, Sam Darnold should not be in your lineups because Bears defense, you're right, has been on the money. So hoping for a game like that, like you're mentioning. So be wary of Sam Darnold. My red light quarterback of the week is Anthony Richardson. Okay, now I get it. He scored 30 fantasy points last week. He had a great week. He looked good. He looked comfortable. He didn't take himself out of the game. And to be honest, he's taking Detroit this week. Detroit's pass defense is very bad, right? They're not in the top tier of pass defenses. However, Detroit's been dominating teams. Okay, they've been winning by 40 points, 40 plus points, and I'm just weary of Anthony Richardson going against a really good, tough run defense. Now, Anthony Richardson gets a lot of his productions on the ground, and Detroit, even though they are a bad pass defense, they have allowed the fewest passing touchdowns on the season with only 7 through 10 games. So I don't like Anthony Richardson this week. I know he did good last week. I'm just not going to trust it this week against Detroit, where I think Detroit has another game where they just dominate.
Yeah, I had Richardson as my second guy also. And I think people are going to look at that 28-point game and be like, oh, he's back. He figured it out. But this Detroit defense, if you look at, they started off bad, but the last 3 games, they're allowing less than 200 yards passing. And now since they've been better, they're actually allowing the 6th fewest fantasy points to quarterback. So they've gotten better. But more importantly, take the stats out of it. Here's how I think this game plays out. I think Detroit is up big. That puts Anthony Richardson in mostly pass mode, and I don't think that's a good thing for Anthony Richardson.
I completely agree. He's just going to be making mistakes out there. I mean, he was able to get them the ball last week. Josh Downs had a good game. We'll talk about Alec Pierce a little bit, but I'm just really worried about him. So, did you have anybody else on the list, or was that just those two?
No, that's it.
Okay. All right. Well, let's talk about green light quarterbacks. Now, I want to preface this. Okay. I did something a little different with my green light sections this week. I have a main green guy that I like, but I also have a dart throw that if you need to pick someone up off the waivers, they may still be lingering there. Okay. So I have a guy that should have a great game and a guy that, hey, if you're in a pinch and you're in a bad spot, this is somebody who I have a little bit of confidence in.
Real quick, I think we're gonna marry up on both of your guys. I have a feeling. So go ahead.
Well, there's the thumbs up. I like it. All right. So my green light quarterback of the week is Justin Herbert. Okay. And that's
1 for 1.
1 for 1. It's blatantly obvious. We talk about it every week. He's taken on the Baltimore Ravens. Justin Herbert, top 10 performance in 3 of the last 4 games. Baltimore's defense is terrible. They're the worst in the league. Enough said. Herbert and the Chargers are rolling right now. I cannot wait to watch that game. And I think Herbert is going to have one of those games where you're like, holy shit, like he really is one of the better quarterbacks in the league. And I think he should be another top 10 week to follow up those 3 out of 4 games.
Yep, I agree. He's running the ball quite a bit more lately, which is helping his fantasy production. I think he was over 50 yards last week. So, yeah, he was one of my main guys. I think he'd be inside the top 5 ranking this week.
Okay, beautiful. And then let's see if we can go 2 for 2 here. I'm going to go with the boy from New York, Tommy Cutlets.
Shane O'Mac, shocker of the week.
I love it. It should have been a shocker of the week. You're absolutely right. But I think I have like 4 shockers throughout my green lights. Not just quarterbacks across the board, but yeah, look, times are tough. Okay. If you're thinking about starting Tommy Cutlets, it might not be a bad time to start him, and he's probably sitting on your waiver wire. Tampa Bay has given up the most fantasy points per game. This is a good spot for Tommy to come in. The team is entrusting him with the starting role over Drew Lock, and I think this is a chance for him to come out and have a good game. We saw him have flashes in his time last season. I think he had 1 game over 250 yards and 3 touchdowns. So it's not like he can't get the job done, but now with Malik Neighbors, I think this is a good spot for Tommy Cutlets. And if you need a spot or if you need somebody to step in and get some points, he might be the guy.
Yeah, I did a little bit too much digging into Tommy DeVito this week because out of necessity in a couple of leagues. So
yeah,
I was looking at last year. So last year, here's the correlation I got. Last year, his best game was the one you mentioned. He finished as the QB7. He threw for 3 touchdowns. In that game, he was facing the Washington Commanders. The Commanders gave up the most passing yards and the most passing touchdowns last year. So this week, he's facing Tampa Bay. He faces Tampa Bay. You mentioned giving up the first or the second most fantasy points. And they also give up the most passing yards to quarterback. We saw Bo Nix have 21 points against Tampa Bay. We saw Spencer Rattler in his first ever start ever throw for 250 yards. So
this is what I'm saying. Tommy Cutlets needs to be in the lineup. So I love that. Thanks for diving deep because I started to, and I'm like, what am I doing? I can't dive in this deep.
Yeah.
So, Tommy Cutlets on the green light list this week. I love it. Did you have any other ones you wanted to mention?
No, those are the 2 guys, Herbert and Tommy.
Beautiful, beautiful. All right, well, let's go over to red light running backs. Who you pumping the brakes on for red light running backs?
I could give you all the stats, but honestly, I'm just tired of giving you all the stats, and I'm just saying it's Baltimore week, so that means Dobbins is a no-go. Najee Harris had a decent game, but it wasn't anything great. I just think there's a lot of guys you can get in front of Dobbins this week, so that's the easy one out of the way. And then real quick, the 2 guys I'm also very concerned about, Chuba Hubbard. I'm facing the Chiefs. Chiefs are top 3 in rushing yards allowed per game. We're going to get Jonathan Brooks back finally. I don't think he takes over a lot of the carries, but maybe he gets 8 of those carries. So I think that's a concern. And then DeAndre Swift, a couple of things. So when you listen to this, it's probably we may get an update, but he's popped up with an injury that he's been limited or missed some practices. But growing, yeah. Even if he plays, like there's two things I'm concerned about. One, like with the change of offensive coordinator, we saw Roschon Johnson get his highest carry mark of the week last week, and he got the goal line carry. And so I think Swift managers, they were bailed out by that one long catch that was like a 9 or 10 point play for him. But I don't like Roschon getting more worked into the offense as far as fantasy related for Swift. And Vikings are really good against the run lately, like only allowing 52 yards rushing per game over the last 3. So that's my concerns with Swift.
Yeah, and I can echo those because though DeAndre Swift is on my list, but I also have a caveat on my red light running back this week. And I saw a lot of people go to the waiver wire and pick up Roschon Johnson. Okay, now if DeAndre Swift does not play because of his groin injury, please do not play Roschon Johnson.
No.
Okay, if you're in a bad spot in the running back position, we'll talk about some on the green light list here coming up. Roschon Johnson is not a good idea this week. Like Shane said, Minnesota's given up the 3rd fewest fantasy points per game to running backs. It's just not a good spot. So I did see throughout all my leagues, I'm in a lot of leagues, and throughout all of them, I kept seeing Roschon Johnson get picked up. So I'm just want to preface that out there. So I know you're in a bad spot, but he's not the answer.
Yep, I agree.
Okay. All right. So let's move over to green light running back. Shane, who is your green light running back of the week?
My main guy I like is, and I think this is a guy you probably have on your bench, and you could play ahead of Dobbins, you could play ahead of Hubbard, you could play ahead of Swift, and that's Bucky Irving. I like a couple things about him. Like one, he's facing the Giants. They're giving up almost 170 yards per game rushing, giving up the most yards per carry in the league this year to running back. But then when I was looking at Bucky, because I've got to plug him in a couple leagues, like the 2 times this year when he's gotten 12 or more carries, he's been a top 12 running back. And I feel very confident in a game against the Giants that he can get more than 12 or more carries this week.
I love that. I picked up Bucky. He was in one of these leagues. He was still sitting on the waiver wire, which I can't believe he's out there on many waiver wires. But yeah, I absolutely agree with that. Bucky Irving is a great play this week. I love it. My green light running back of the week is Brian Robinson Jr. B-Rob taking on the Dallas Cowboys. RB15 last week in his first game back from injury. He has played 8 games this season, and he's scored in 6 of them. So, we talked about the Commanders' run game being very elite. Dallas has given up the 2nd most fantasy points per game to running backs. So this, to me, seems like a great game for the Commanders and a great game for Brian Robinson, hopefully scoring a couple tuds. So he's my main guy. And then my dart throw kind of got a little muddied out. I saw a report come through that Justice Hill is now questionable. I did not read into it. Shane, do you have any information on Justice Hill? Because he was going to be my dart throw running back of the week.
No, I hadn't seen it, but yeah, that could make sense. I mean, he's getting some receiving work in that game against the Chargers.
Yeah, he got 7 targets last week, and the Chargers defense is going to be really good. So, my impression of this is just Lamar's going to need to get creative. And when he does that and he needs to get somebody the ball, Justice Hill is usually open out of the backfield. So, in a pinch, I'm not starting Roschon. I'd rather plug in Justice Hill, but read into it because I'm not sure why he's questionable. I got to look into that as well. I just, I saw that like probably 15 minutes ago. I was like, shit, that's my guy.
Yeah. I thought the same thing with Robinson. I think he needs to be inside like the top 7, 8 running backs for the week.
For sure. Yeah, and then he's a massive.
Real quick, like not that it's an out there call, but like if you've got Kareem Hunt, like if they clear Isiah Pacheco this week, I still would start Hunt. Don't be concerned. I don't see them giving Isiah Pacheco even 50% of the touches. I think they would slowly dribble like maybe six carries in this game against the Panthers.
Yeah, that's a great point. I'm sure that's going to be a hot topic for people that have Hunt and have Isiah Pacheco. So it's something worth talking about. Yeah, I agree. If Pacheco comes back, they're not going to be giving him the workload that he got prior to the injury. Kareem Hunt's been playing really, really well. So Worst case scenario, it's a 50-50 split going against the Carolina Panthers, who are one of the worst run defenses in the NFL. So either way you look at it, Kareem Hunt is a good play this week as well. I like that. So, all right, let's move on to red light wide receivers. Shane, who is your red light running or wide receiver of the week?
I got two guys for this week that I'm really concentrated on. One is guy who's coming off a season high in receiving yards last week, 150 yards, Christian Watson. We just talked about how good the Bears defense is. But, look past what that total PPR point game was, or look past the 150 yards, concentrate more that he only got 4 targets in that game. And in his previous 3 games, he hadn't surpassed 40 yards in any of those. Like, it is just an up and down roller coaster with Green Bay receivers. And I'm not liking the matchup this week against the Niners. They've given up their top 5 and fewest receiving yards allowed in the league. So I would not be rolling out Watson out there if you can avoid it. If you can avoid it, avoid it.
Yeah, I can get on board with that. My wide receiver red light of the week is Tank Dell. Tank Dell against Tennessee Titans. Last 2 weeks, wide receiver 42, wide receiver 43. He just hasn't been playing like himself. Nico Collins is fully back now and is the main focus of the offense. Titans give up the 4th fewest points to wide receivers. This is just a tough spot, tough game, tough defense. And Tank Dell playing the way that he's been playing, he's just not going to be in one of my lineups.
Yeah. The other guy I'd be avoiding is Jakobi Meyers. Facing the Broncos, facing Patrick Surtain. He'll get moved around some and everything, but so did Drake London last week. And Drake London only caught, I think, 3 of 7 targets for like 60 yards. So we know, even though he won't get maybe exclusive shadow coverage, it'll be enough that it'll limit his production. And like, I didn't like it last week. Like we saw, I think, 14 targets for, or more than that. I think it was 13 catches, 17 targets for Brock Bowers. So Brock Bowers is eating away at some of that target share that Myers really had earlier in the year.
Bowers is the entire offense.
Yes.
With a little side dish for Alexander Madison, but we're not going to talk about him on this podcast. Yeah. I completely agree with that. Did you have any others you want to mention?
No, I just want to mention a red light drop in case you guys, anybody out there still hanging on to hope, you can drop Deontay Johnson. Just go ahead, make the drop. Yeah. It's not going to happen. I thought for sure it was the most freeing experience this week for me to drop him from 2 teams. So make that drop.
Just let him go. Let him go. I love it. That's tough. That is absolutely tough. All right, let's go over to wide receiver green lights. Who do you love this week? Who's going to have a great week for your lineup?
God, there are like 3 guys I really like this week. So I'm going to call it my 3 wide receiver set. So one marries up with our Justin Herbert call. That's Lad McConkey. Like I like that he has been getting more targets from Herbert. He's had 2 100-yard receiving in his last 4 games. He's seen like 8 or more targets in 2 of the last 3. And I just think that he's that shifty guy that moves around that Baltimore is going to struggle with.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. And I'm going to one-up you, Shane. I'm green-lighting Quentin Johnston. QJ, look, this is just a great matchup all around for the Chargers, wide receivers and quarterback. Quentin Johnston's quietly a touchdown in each of the last 3 games. He had 8 targets last week, his highest of any game this season. Baltimore is a terrible pass defense, and Lad McConkey absolutely deserves a green light. He just exploded on prime time last week, but I'm thinking QJ is a good start this week as well. So if you can plug him in your lineups, I would do so.
Yeah. My second guy is, and I'm plugging him in a lot of lineups that I hadn't been plugging him in, but it's JSN. He is really exploded the last couple of weeks. I mean, I think when I was looking at it, 17 catches, almost 300 yards and 2 touchdowns. He has taken over that number 2 role in Seattle, Arizona's bottom 5 defense and fantasy points allowed. Jason would probably be a top 15 receiver for me this week.
I love that. I have him in a couple leagues, and he is definitely in my lineup. All right, another green light wide receiver I have is DJ Moore. He's been hot and cold with us, but He was wide receiver 29 last week, which isn't great, but it's a step in the right direction. Okay. And that's what we're looking at. Start him with confidence this week. All right. The Bears offense looked much better last week against Green Bay. Minnesota's given up the third most fantasy points to wide receivers. And DJ Moore just was getting the most targets on the team. He was the main guy. So I'm thinking Thomas Brown, the offensive coordinator, is really putting a focus on getting the ball in DJ's hands. So I think DJ Moore is a safe play this week.
Yeah, I saw, and I made a note of this because I almost put him in my green light. So I copied the note. It was from Field Yates. Shout out Field. I know you're listening to the show here today. So there was a sizable shift in the way that Thomas Brown used DJ Moore. So the first 10 weeks, average depth of target was over 8 yards. Week 11, average depth of target 0.86 yards with 56 yards after the catch. So they made a concerted effort, get him the ball the easiest way possible and make him do what he does best after the catch.
I love it. I love it. Absolutely. And then I have one more play. This is my dart throw of the week. If you need still someone to plug in your flex spot, and you know this guy's probably on the waiver wire still, Alec Pierce. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Now I know I talked about Anthony Richardson being on a red light, but that doesn't matter with the Alec Pierce play. What you want in a bad spot like this, when you need anybody to put up points for you on your team, where you just have no other options. Alec Pierce is a big play guy. Okay, over 70 yards last week, but mainly, you know, it's that big playability that you're just hoping for one bomb. That's all you need with Anthony Richardson and Alec Pierce. And Detroit, they're, you know, like I said, they're not the best against the pass. So I think this is a good spot for Alec Pierce if you need, you know, a dart throw.
Yeah, so you know what Alec Pierce is? Alec Pierce is this week's gut feel guy of the week. Remember Jameson Williams was the gut feel guy of the week? I said he just needs the one big play. You could probably get 13 points off of one catch, and boom, and that's what Alec Pierce is. And it's more likely with Anthony Richardson at quarterback, because remember in the first part of the year, that's what happened in a couple games.
Absolutely. So there you go. Gut feel guy of the week, Alec Pierce against Detroit. Do you have any others?
The last guy, real quick, my number 3 guy, just because I teased 3, was Calvin Ridley. And like he is quietly kind of been having a good, you know, couple weeks here. He had a down last week with 9 PPR points. But before that, he had 2 top 5 wide receiver finishes in 3 games. He's been getting almost, when I was looking at it, he's been getting almost 10 targets a game over the last 6 weeks. And then Houston, bottom 10 defense in receiving yards allowed in the last 3 games. It's a game where Tennessee is going to be trailing. Lots of pass volume for Ridley. Yeah,
and he also had a 50-yard touchdown called back.
Yep, that's right. On the most annoying penalty I hate in the league.
Yes,
right?
Absolutely. But still, a 50-yard touchdown would have made his day.
Get rid of these illegal procedure calls like that.
Illegal formation, illegal motion. Yeah, it's all bullshit.
Took away Nico Collins' score last Monday night.
Yes. Oh God, that killed me. I don't even want to talk about that. That one killed me. Yeah, that's tough. But Calvin Ridley, he's definitely playing a lot better. So, all right, let's move over to red light tight ends. Shane, who is your pump brakes red light guy of the week?
I am going with, and I picked him up. This is like, you're almost like, oh, I'm talking on both sides of my mouth. But like, I picked him up in one league because tight end was so thin and bare. But I hate that I'm having to start him, and it's Cole Kmet. And like, my hope was that like we would see maybe an influx of targets and everything and catches.
Yeah, with the new OC.
But I don't know. I just think when I thought about it, I'm like, you just need to think about this rationally. Like, it's just probably going to be difficult when you've got DJ Moore, Keenan Allen, Romo Dunze, they're all healthy. And Swift out of the backfield. It's just going to be hard to get targets. He's only averaging 2 targets a game over the last 4. Vikings top 10 in the defense as far as fantasy points allowed to tight end position. So I would try to get away from Kmet. I couldn't get away from him unless I was going to just start some second or third string tight end. I mean, one of my streaming options I'll talk about in the green light was not even available. So.
Oh wow. Okay. Yeah, I was hoping for a good game from Cole Kmet with the change of OC. You know, he's such a good tight end. They need to try to get him the ball, so I'm hoping to see that this week. I hope you're wrong. That's what I'm saying. I hope you're wrong. And Cole Kmet has a good game, but unlikely. All right, so my red light tight end of the week is Isiah Likely for the Ravens taking on the Chargers. He did show up a bit last week. He was tight end 12, but he's, basically disappeared throughout the season. Like he just isn't consistent. So I'm not counting on back-to-back good games from Isiah Likely. And the Chargers haven't given up a touchdown to tight ends all season. So I am not banking on Isiah Likely this week.
Not likely.
Not likely. No. All right, green light tight end. Shane, who do you like? Who's your streamer of the week?
Green light. So I'm saying the Will Disleys have been picked up. The Jonnu Smiths have been picked up. Okay, you need to go way down the tight end rankings and looks and see. And I've got two guys that I guarantee will be available for you to go pick up, even though in my large 14-team league, they were not. One is Mr. Theo Johnson, not a friend of Cole's preseason. But listen, he's had 6 targets in his last 2 games, 51 and 37 receiving yards. He's had a touchdown. Because I was just so dire of tight ends, I did a deep dive on him. He's seeing 90% of the snaps at the tight end starting position. Tampa Bay's allowed the 3rd most fantasy points to tight ends this year.
I muted my mic for a second. Yes, Theo Johnson's on my list.
Okay? Oh my God, you had Theo Johnson also?
Yes,
wow,
he is on my list. I couldn't agree more. And maybe with this quarterback change, maybe Tommy Cutlets needs to throw it to the tight end. Maybe he needs that security blanket a little bit to get going. So yeah, I like that play. Clearly, I got him on my list. So, and then my other guy is Jatavion Sanders.
Oh yeah, I would love
for the Carolina Panthers against Kansas City Chiefs. He caught a touchdown last week. In 3 out of 5 games, he has 5+ targets or more than 49 yards. So he's been very active.
Yep.
Kansas City defense has given up the most passing yards to tight ends. So if anything happens with this Panthers offense, I feel like JT Sanders has a good shot of putting up some points for your team. So I'm going with JT Sanders.
Yeah, I would have loved to have got him. I would have even loved to have gotten my second streaming guy that you'll be able to find, and that is Luke Schoonmaker from my Dallas Cowboys. Listen, I don't think Jake Ferguson's playing this week.
Wait, you're telling me Schoon wasn't available in your league?
Schoon got picked up off of the waiver wire.
Wow.
Fab was spent on him. That's how bad this is. So yeah.
Good old Schoonmaker.
Ferguson's going to be out with a concussion. I don't think he gets cleared for this. Man, he saw 10 targets in that Monday night game, which is just crazy. He caught 6 for 56. And as it's going to be the case every week from here on out, even against the lowly Carolina Panthers here in 2 or 3 weeks, Dallas is going to be trailing in every single game. And they're going to be throwing the ball 40 to 50 times a game. So yeah, he should probably be the number 2 receiving option this week for Cooper Rush.
I just thought of a great band name, Cooper and the Schoonmakers. That's a good one, right? Maybe they should think about something for the offseason. Cooper and the Schoonmakers. Yeah, I like it. I like that play. He looked really good out there, and he deserves to be on the starting lineup for teams that absolutely need some help. And I'm sure you guys are out there, okay? Put some faith in the old Schoonmaker, okay?
Yep.
But yeah, I think that about does it for our week 12 red light, green light. We appreciate you guys tuning in. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel. Check us out every Sunday live at 10 a.m. We'll be answering all your questions and talking over football. So come join us every Sunday. Please follow us on social media. Check us out. Shane, thank you for joining us on this beautiful day. And I guess we're getting ready to watch some Thursday night football.
Yeah, the Browns Steelers. Buckle up for Thursday night football.
Yeah, buckle up, everybody. Have a good night.